What up, people? This is your boy Dedrian Cologne from House of Rasslin, and this is my review for the June 1st episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, follow House of Rasslin on all social media platforms. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And I apologize if this is coming out late. I did watch Dynamite as it aired, but afterwards I was just not feeling too good and everything, so I'm like, man, you know what, let me hold off on it. So I feel a lot better now, and I'm giving you the review, man. I gotta back up what I do consistently, man. I gotta give it to you. If I feel good, I'm gonna do it. But man, this show, it was from the formerly LA Forum, where the Los Angeles Lakers used to play back in the day. This was in Los Angeles. I do like the fact that they changed the entrance stage setup. I hope it stays like that and it is not what they originally had. If you follow me on Twitter, and if I remember, I think I mentioned it on a few Dynamite reviews, they needed to change that damn set. Like, change it already. Like, please change it, man. But no, man, this Dynamite show was very interesting, and especially with MJF. I'll get into that a bit, but man, this show was pretty jam-packed. A lot of things going on, but overall fun. And one thing I can say with AEW is, from week to week, there could be just these awesome shows, they tweak it here. Then, with the women's division, man, they could tweak this. But the one constant about AEW is those freaking fans in the crowd. That's what makes the show, man. Those fans are going to cheer, boo. They're going to react and do some, I wouldn't say wild stuff, but just very rowdy and just intense fans. They remind me a lot of like the old ECW fans. Less, how do I put it? I don't want to say, less vulgar and just very less animated and everything. But no, this was a pretty solid show. It opened up with CM Punk and FTR versus Matt Caster and Billy Gunn. What I liked about this whole Max Caster and Gunn Club is the fact that Billy Gunn, he ignores his sons and he treats Max Caster and Anthony Bowens as his sons. Freaking hilarious. Max Caster, he dropped an Amber Heard line and 405. There's a bunch of ass boys chants. What I did like about this match was you had the veterans who were champions versus the up-and-comers. The few spots, especially when CM Punk was jumping over the rope and kind of slipped and everything, I didn't mind it. Like I always say, when stuff like that happens, honestly, what I feel as a viewer, they just need to slow down a little bit. Just slow it down. You ain't got to do it there. But then again, I'm not in the ring and I'm not there, so it is what it is. But this was a pretty dope match. CM Punk, he hit the GTS, and then FTR did the big rig, 1, 2, 3. They win. Again, a good match. You got the Acclaimed, who, I'm sorry, the Acclaimed is one of the, you could say, mini acts that are over with the crowd. Just to see how they've grown and gotten over with the crowd, it's hilarious, man. It's hilarious. It's fun. I can't wait till they turn the Acclaimed faces, because that's going to be fun, entertaining, and must-see TV. After the match, Dax Hardwood, he mentions his wife and his daughters in the crowd, and he's fighting pro wrestling and this. CM Punk, he's like, yeah, I know that we have this Forbidden Door New Japan happening June 29th or June 26th, and he's like, you know what, I want to know who the hell is going to face me. Music hits. Hiroshi Tanahashi, yes, Hiroshi Tanahashi from New Japan comes out. He's having this stare down with CM Punk, goes for the signal for the belt. So apparently we're getting CM Punk and Hiroshi Tanahashi at Forbidden Door for the AEW World Title. That should be interesting. Then we get to the moment of the night. And granted, this is right after the first match. We get MJF. I don't, me saying anything doesn't no justice. I know his merchandise was taken down off the site, the AEW site. The video of him, this promo is, AEW doesn't have it posted, but many people have posted it all on social media, which is crazy. He mentioned there was a bunch of "shut the F up" chants. He mentions how AEW was all friends wrestling. He mentioned, that there's nothing that he can't do. Then, like, as he's going on this rant, it's like the crowd shift from like booing him to cheering him. And there was a lot of stuff that people were just like, yeah, you're kind of right. And as I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, he's kind of right, but man, this is some good shit. Like, this is good. Whether it's a work or a shoot, I don't care, because this is entertaining and it's on my TV on Wednesdays. So I'm going to enjoy it. He mentions to all these wrestling fans on Twitter, you don't know shit. Opinions, drop of a dime. He's a generational talent. You're bringing in, he brings in these ex-WWE guys. What, do I have to be an ex-WWE guy to get paid? And he calls Tony Khan a mark. I know many people said this is probably the best promo they've ever heard. For me, that's kind of premature, but it is quite possibly the best promo we've probably heard in the last 5 years. It's a combination of Ric Flair and Bischoff in '98 when Flair got fired and he came back and he's like, "You can't fire me, I quit." That type of tension. It also reminded me of Shane Douglas when he threw the NWA title in the ring, and just, this is Extreme Championship Wrestling. This reminded me of Brian Pillman when he had his thing with Bischoff and Kevin Sullivan, Booker Man, and that whole thing. It also reminded me a little bit of Triple H in '99 when he had that interview with Jim Ross, when he got punished for the curtain call, and it makes me sick to my stomach. Like, all those memorable moments put into one, and probably got this MJF, there's little pieces of those memorable moments that MJF brought in. Man, that was a really good promo. I'm looking forward to where this goes. I know the speculation is MJF CM Punk at All Out and MJF wins. Honestly, that is a freaking smart move because of this. And of course, wrestling storyline, oh yeah, this is this. But here's the thing. All Out is the first Sunday of September. The following week is the NFL, and you're going to have baseball and all that other stuff. That is the perfect storyline to implement going into the fall with football and all this other stuff. Man, it's so good. You have MJF take the title from CM Punk, and if it's similar to what Punk did with Cena at Money in the Bank in 2011, where he took the title and went home, and you have MJF do that, ooh, boy. Man. And they're already hinting towards the subtle tension between the AEW originals and the new guys, mostly WWE guys coming in. So, like, are we going to get this originals free agents like battle? But man, if you do that storyline heading into the fall, that's going to be some good money being made in AEW with that storyline, especially with CM Punk and that whole thing where he's kind of the John Cena, which is crazy to think about. Gonna be good. But man, that MJF promo, throwback, classic. Put it in. Out of all the memorable promos that have happened within professional wrestling, and I've seen a lot of great promos in 30 plus years watching wrestling, that's up there. That's if Piper and a few other guys who are no longer with us were alive, that kid got something. And I was thinking of this, and this came to my mind. MJF is teaching class, and take notes, guys. That's all I got to say. MJF is teaching class. Take some notes, man, because the brothers, after this promo, I can only imagine where he's going to go in the next couple of months in AEW and just everything that's happening. And it's entertaining. It's entertaining, fun. I love it. From there, we get the match between Johnny Elite, and he had this open contract, anyone he wants to face. And who do we get? Miro. And before this, there was a promo. So apparently, he's going to go into the kingdom of God. He's going to war with God, which is like, man, that's pretty intense. He lost his TNT title, and he's like, he lost this and that, and he's on a vengeance. But man, this was a good return match for Miro. More so because it was Johnny Elite, John Morrison. And of course, John Morrison, really good seller and everything. So it was a good way to reintroduce Miro back and have a solid match. This was fun. That submission hold that Miro does where he has him, where he yanks back and they're like bent like a pretzel. Man, that is nasty. Miro picks up the win. I'm looking forward to what Miro is going to do. I've tweeted it. I hope he regains the TNT title and goes on another run. He is the TNT championship. Cody, Brody Lee, Darby, those three, then Miro, those are the guys that really elevated that TNT title to a place where it's just like, wow, like these matches are amazing. And it's not a shot at Scorpio Sky or anything, because that could be interesting how that plays out with Scorpio Sky. And if it eventually becomes Miro, it's going to be interesting. From there, we get a promo from Jazz. Yes, Jazz. Jericho Appreciation Society. Jericho comes out. He cuts off people singing his song. That was pretty funny. He basically says Daniel Bryan and Eddie Kingston are trash because Eddie Kingston tried to literally set him on fire, which was crazy. Like, what the hell? Eddie Kingston's just out there. Then you get Kingston coming out with William Regal. He's like, no, this ain't going to happen. No, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And we finally get the infamous saying from William Regal, Blood and Guts. So yes, Blood and Guts. They issued a challenge. We get Jericho, and mind you, it's just Jericho, and I believe it was 2.0. So they are attacking Eddie Kingston. He beats them up, and then out of nowhere you get Ortiz, who hits Jericho with a sock of whatever it was, knocked him out. Then he cuts his hair. So again, next week we're gonna get Jericho, or June 15th. You're gonna get Jericho versus Ortiz, hair versus hair match. That's gonna be interesting. Honestly, it would be cool if Jericho had a haircut similar to what he had in New Japan. Like, it would be cool if he freshened it up a little bit. That was fun. Then we get a recap of Samoa Joe getting attacked at Double or Nothing by Jay Lethal, Sanam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. See where that goes. I kind of want this feud to be over with Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal and just move on to something else. Then we get the match between the Undisputed Elite with Hikuleo from Bullet Club. So it's basically the Young Bucks and Red Dragon and Hikuleo, because of course Adam Cole and Jeff Hardy, they were taken out of the match because they were banged up. This was a fun match. They faced against Jurassic Express, Darby Allin, Matt Hardy, and Christian. It was a fun match. It's honestly still to this, Jurassic Express should not have won that tag team triple threat match at Double or Nothing, but it is what it is. Adam Cole was on commentary. There was a cool part where they did mention the history between Christian and Matt Hardy, which is really cool. It took a while to register. Man, these guys, they've had some battles through the that's how those two guys and their battles early on in their career is what made them legends, which was really cool. You just had a melee middle of the match where everybody was just crazy and everything. There was a double moonsault by Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. You then had Hikuleo and Luchasaurus have their face off. Then they wound up getting a double clothesline. Darby Allin, which I didn't know this was the first time that Darby Allin had any interaction with the Young Bucks in a ring, in a match, which is pretty interesting. So you had that. He was quick in the ring. There was a point where Hikuleo caught Darby Allin trying to do the coffin drop, and that was crazy because he caught him good, pop. He didn't struggle, he just caught him. That was crazy. Then there was a bunch of delete chants. Then, of course, there was a super kick party by the Young Bucks. They hit the BET trigger, the Meltzer driver on Jungle Boy, 1, 2, 3. You know who won. The Undisputed Elite. After the match, which I didn't catch this at first, but then when I watched it again, I was like, AEW doesn't ever necessarily do that. They were really taking their time showing the losing team come out the ring, and you saw there was they've been kind of teasing it, the friction between Jungle Boy and Christian. Hopefully that happens soon, because I do feel that it is time to split Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy up and go their separate ways, because they've been together for a long time. It is just time. I mean, they've been there together since the beginning of AEW, so it's okay, it's going into year 3. You need to break it up. So you had that. Then we get a backstage segment with Swerve Strickland, Keith Lee. He introduces, oh my God, I can't remember oh my God, he did his entrance thing. Forgive me, guys. So he introduced him. He introduced Jeff Hamilton. They're talking about the Lakers legends and everything. And Keith Lee is well, we're going to be legends in our own right. We're going to go after those tag titles and Swerve in our glory. Pretty cool promo. There was some famous people. If you do not know who Jeff Hamilton is, just go on Instagram and see who is. Once you see how many followers he's got and who he's done stuff, you're like, oh shit, that is a big deal. And he wasn't the only celebrity there. You had Macaulay Culkin, you had Freddie Prinze Jr., Vince Vaughn, quite a few people there at AEW, which it's in LA, the Inglewood, the Forum. That was a hot ticket. Then we get a promo after the commercial. Actually, no, this was right after. So we get a promo from Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon. It was okay. You could tell that she kind of stumbled on the roads and stuff like that. Words. Could have been a little bit tighter and everything. But then you get Jade Cargill with the typical and the usual. Cut the shit, Tony. And you get Stokely Hathaway. Man, the only disappointing thing, I wish they would have had him say more. They were basically talking down to Athena. She's not on the level. Then you had Chris Statlander come out. Then you had, oh my God, who else was there? Ruby Soho. So you had this big interaction between the baddies and Athena, Ruby Soho, and Chris Statlander, and they're just fighting each other. That's going to be a dope 6-woman tag. Again, I just wish they would have some more women matches. Come on, you got they have AEW's women's division. They have the charisma. They do. They have the charisma. You just have to put them out there to display their charisma and put them in a more creative position to express their charisma. But this was an okay segment. Like I'm not gonna say it was terrible. Like, oh my god, she was horrible on the mic or anything. It was just, it's the first time speaking in AEW. Hopefully she gets, she's gonna get better. It is what it is. First time, and it's LA, which is just, put yourself in her shoes. You probably do the same thing. From there, we get JD Drake versus the man who beat MJF on Sunday, Wardlow. I like the fact that he came out, with no music, but then they gave him music, and it was his old music. It was like, that ain't his new music. Like, come on, man. But this was a squash match. I mean, JD Drake is a big dude, and like he picked him up like nothing. Powerbombed him twice. That was it. Powerbombed him twice. End of the match. He's celebrating, and then you get Mark Sterling coming down with a bunch of security, and he's basically saying, I got a class action lawsuit against you from the American, what the hell was it? The American Arena Security. The American Arena Security lawsuit, because you've beat up so many guys. I'm class action lawsuit. Miro, Wardlow gets it, beats up the guy, power bombs him, tears up the sheet. Mark Sterling's like, he storms off. That was a pretty cool segment. I like this for the simple fact that Wardlow kind of ranked number 1, so it keeps him away from the world title picture at the moment while this Mark Sterling thing is going on, but I didn't mind it. Then we get a backstage segment with Scorpio Sky and Dan Lambert. They're promoting their match this Friday on Rampage with Dante Martin, and Rampage is back at its original time. If you're in Chicago, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, right after SmackDown. So they're basically hyping up their match, and Dante Martin comes in at the end, and he's like, you know what? I know what I can do, and I can take that title from you. So that I'm looking forward to that match. It should be good this Friday. Then we get the women's match at 8:34, which I'll say different time zones and everything. So 34 minutes into the second hour, there you go. We get a women's match. They got to do better, man. This match honestly could have been, looking at it now, this women's match could have been right after the Miro match. Could have been right after. But live and learn. But no, this match was pretty solid. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. Jamie Hayter's got a nasty DDT. There was a dope crossbody off the top rope by Ruby Soho. Then again, they were going back and forth. Then eventually, Britt Baker wound up trying to get the lockjaw in. Ruby Soho countered. Jamie Hayter knocked her off, tried to get it back on. Then there was the destination DDT that Ruby Soho did. She picks up the win. Her and Toni Storm win. So, actually, no, they didn't win. Britt Baker and Toni Storm. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter won. But you could tell they're not overtly hinting towards it, but it's kind of subtle that we're going to eventually get a Jamie Hayter turning on Britt Baker. So it is what it is. But yeah, I wish this match was a little bit earlier, like 34 minutes into the second hour. Like, come on, man. Like this, like really? It is what it is. Then we had Ruby Soho and Toni Storm did win. But Jamie Hayter hit Soho with the tournament belt that Britt Baker won, and she kind of glanced at it like this and then gave it to Britt Baker. Forgive me, guys. Correction. But then we get Daniel Garcia versus Jon Moxley, William Regal, and Chris Jericho on commentary. The bickering these two guys do on commentary is so freaking hilarious. It reminds me of 2001 when they were in the WWF and they were just that whole bickering. Man, so good, so entertaining. Not too far, like as soon as the match started, like a couple minutes in, Moxley just started bleeding when it was picture in picture. He was busted open. There was a spot where Jon Moxley did a cross arm breaker. Then they went through the not the announcer's table, the ring announcer's table. There you go. They went over there. Then at a certain point, Jericho tried to interfere, didn't. Moxley wound up picking up the victory. But then, like I said, Jericho started to get in. Eddie stopped him. Moxley wound up tapping out Daniel Garcia. And then Moxley's like, hey, if we're going to have blood and guts, Eddie Kingston, you are a difficult man to befriend and love, but you got me in blood and guts. So apparently we're going to get at Blood and Guts, which is going to be on June 29th, which is the Dynamite after Forbidden Door. We're going to get Blood and Guts. We're going to get quite possibly the Jericho Appreciation Society versus the Blackpool Combat Club and Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. That should be fun. That's probably going to be one of these. Man, we've only had one. Yeah, we only had one Blood and Guts. So this probably going to be more guys stacked name-wise in this match. So it's going to be interesting. So looking forward to that, man. But yeah, this episode of Dynamite, the MJF promo, that stuff like that, and it's gone viral. That's going to make people more like, man, I want to see what's going to happen next week. Like, is this guy going to show up? Like, what is he going to do? Is he going to send a message? Like, I want to see this. Miro's back. You got Jade Cargill and the baddies, Punk, Tanahashi, that whole thing, and you have this tease of what's going to happen at Forbidden Door with AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. CM Punk and FTR hinted like, hey, if there was a trios title, we'll run through everybody and beat your favorites. So they're hinting towards the trios titles, which is pretty cool. The Blackpool Combat Club, Jericho Appreciation Society, that's fun. Man, this was a pretty cool episode. Just the women's match. I wish there was at least another women's match, or the Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Tony Storm, Ruby Soho match, was a little bit earlier. But man, this was a fun show. It looked good on screen. Being from the Forum, good momentum builder after Double or Nothing, because Double or Nothing was a freaking marathon. It was fun, but man, it was a marathon. Watching it was a marathon, and the media scrum marathon. But man, this is a good build towards next week and the Forbidden Door and Blood and Guts and everything. But man, that MJF promo and just that whole storyline. I like storylines that are blurred, and people forget, like, the NWO storyline when it first started, like, the lines were blurred. Like, you were like, are these guys really invading WCW and they're working for the WWF? Like, is this really happening? You had that. You had, when Luger showed up on Nitro unannounced, it's like, wait a minute, is he a WWF? Like, what's going on here? And pro wrestling is always the most interesting, entertaining, and engaging when the lines are blurred, or you don't know what's real and what's what they call a shoot. Like, is it real? Is it a work? Is it like what's like? I know all this stuff is predetermined. That don't look predetermined and like planned. Like what's going on here? And kudos to MJF, man. That guy has elevated his profile and just his just how the fans treat him. Like he's just elevated himself to a higher level. And I'm sorry, the dude. Me personally, I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next week. What's his next move? The next 3 months? Is it going to lead to him and CM Punk at All Out in Chicago? I don't know, but I'm all in on what is going to happen with MJF because what he did and what he said and how he said it and his mannerisms. I mean, the last time you seen something like that was Punk's pipe bomb over almost 11 years ago. And even then, you haven't seen anything with that type of emotion and aggression since the Monday Night Wars, where there was Shane McMahon or Shane Douglas in ECW, Ric Flair in WCW, Triple H when he had the interview with Jim Ross. Just that intensity, man. It's, Brian Pillman, that whole thing that he had in WCW. Like, man, that was gold. That was gold. MJF is gold. And like I said before earlier in this review, MJF is teaching class. Better take notes. That's all I got to say. But this is my review for the June 2nd episode of the June 1st episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, follow House of Wrestling on all social media platforms. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And like I said, and I always say, there's a lot of stuff happening in this world. Let's stop fighting over this wrestling. Let us enjoy. It's entertaining. It's an escape from all this crazy stuff that we're happening. And whether it's whatever day it is, let us just enjoy professional wrestling and be that escape for a couple of hours. For some people, it's their escape from some really crazy stuff that's happening in the world. And let's just have fun with it. All right? It's the least we can do. But with that,